Okay. Okay.
All right. So let us start by introduction first. This is Dr. Thomas Nolan III, long lineage of intelligent brothers. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
What did you just say?
I said long lineage of intelligent brothers. You're the third one.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Yes.
All right, but we're just diving into your perspective of the times, your view on what's going on, and how to, kind of move forward and things of that nature from your perspective.
I've thought a lot about this. My wife and I have breakfast around 11. And after we fix breakfast and sit down to eat, she lets me talk. We talk, but she lets me talk. And since sports, before this stuff, it was about the Thunder and sports, and she's an authority now on all that. It's the times. I'm processing. Okay, so these times, I wish we learn from history.
Okay.
There's been many statements over the years that reflects that we're not learning from history. This pandemic has happened many, many times.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
This is the latest. And there's not an understanding consistent understanding of how things are. Part of the difficulty, I meditate every night around 4 o'clock, and I get downloads.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was about understanding programming.
Okay.
That in my first book, I wrote about why was I born black?
Mm-hmm.
Because someone told me I chose to be born black way back in 1980. And I said, you're crazy. Why in the heck would I choose to be born black in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1939?
Right.
I just turned 80.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 years later, to make a long story short, I realized I did.
Okay.
And once I realized I chose to be born black, that freed me. Because if I chose this, I'm in charge.
Absolutely.
If I didn't choose this, I'm stuck. So there are several groups of people that I work with and have seen that my age group. So if you look at the generational studies and the different stratas of millennials and so forth, of generations, there are about 5 or 6, I won't go into that description, but 5 or 6 different generations.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the people before me that were my predecessors for 1940 and 30. That's my age group to about the 50s, 60s. Then that's the 60s, 70s, 70s, 80s, 80s, 90s, 90s. And every 10 years, a new set of people come in.
Right.
Each one has a consistency in terms of being programmed by their parents, by the church, by the school,
Mm-hmm.
by the media,
Mm-hmm.
their friends. And out of that, they begin to run their own programs independently of that.
Yes. Yes.
So although there is a basic program, They were just talking this morning on CNN about Blacks being disproportionately number of people who are dying because of this virus.
Mhm.
In Louisiana, it's like they're like 30%, but 70% are dying.
Wow.
70% of the people dying are Black.
Wow, that's news to me. That's interesting. Okay.
Look at the stats in New York and Chicago and different around, because they were saying at one time that some Blacks were saying that this wasn't a problem for us, but it is a
Right.
problem. I knew it was going to be a problem because we don't have in the inner cities healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody, I have healthcare, but most don't have healthcare.
Right.
I'm fortunate in that I'm a scientist. I have a scientific background. I understand a lot of things. I also have a degree in health. So I understand how to take care of myself, which I do. So people who don't have that have a difficulty. So if you look at the stratas within the United States, there's not one conscious stream. There's several.
Yes.
Within that program of family, school, church, and so forth, where you grow up has a lot to do with the beliefs within that.
Absolutely.
So we have people who don't understand science.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at, and I have this is hard, but it's my assessment. Look at cities like New York, Philadelphia, Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Look at cities like Chicago, Detroit. Look at cities like Miami. Look at cities like, and I'm separating on purpose, New Orleans. Look at cities like LA, Denver.
Mm-hmm.
They all have a similar but different consciousness.
Agreed.
If you look at communities within those cities, there's multiple consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people who don't have the same presentation, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So they have different beliefs. So politically, you have Republicans, Democrats, Independents.
Right.
But within those, you have different levels of
That's
beliefs.
true. Yeah.
I'm not going to get into what's right or wrong, good or bad, because I don't like doing that.
Understood.
Because that's judgment.
Right.
Don't judge lest ye be judged.
Correct.
And although I have difficulty doing that, still, I have to understand this the way things are. So let me try to zero in on something. Look up the video, and it was on National Geographic, I believe. America Before Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the video of what happened to the the islands that had the statues in the Pacific. And I go blank at times, but okay. And when Columbus visited the Americas, look at what happened when he came back. And what happened when he came back is most of those people were dead because they brought disease.
Right.
The same thing in the South Sea Island that I was talking about. They brought disease. And as a consequence, you can conquer people easily when most of them are dead.
That is the point of least resistance. Yeah.
And most of them are dead.
Yeah.
Because whenever people go from one place to another, and they're not used to being there, there's stuff that those people are immune to, and people that would come there are not immune to, and vice versa.
Right.
I could skip around and talk about Black Plague, about the virus in the 1920s, 1918,
Mm-hmm.
the different viruses in the last 20 years. And what happens is it spreads because people move around carrying that virus, and the people they move around are not immune to that.
Right.
Even though the people who may have started it may have been immune to it.
Right.
And that's one. Two, when you look at the vaccines that we did in the 50s and 60s and so forth, they found that bacteria mutate
Mm-hmm.
because they want to live too,
Mm-hmm.
and they learn how to deal with whatever you bring to them, and they change. So that's another one.
Okay.
So two things that we can say that when people mix who are not used to being with each other, they can exchange bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
That may be harmful to one or both.
That makes sense.
I'm trying to get back again. So what can happen is, if I can put that together now, we have here in the United States a pandemic that was started when, although it started in another country, people from that country began to move around. Eventually, some of them came here. When they came here, they brought that disease.
Okay. Yeah.
All you need is one person to bring a disease, and that goes to another person, which goes to more people, and it may go to a group of people, and then it just spreads around.
Right.
If that's not stopped early, you get what you get.
All right. So is
But a lot of that, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. I was going to ask, is our quarantine efforts that we're putting forth right now, do you think this is actually going to be helpful, us quarantining?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
The earlier it can start, the better. I'll put it that way. The earlier that quarantine can start, the better, because you don't have people mixing.
Mm-hmm.
The kids who thought that they were immune to all this and had parties didn't realize they were spreading it, and a lot of them got it too.
Right.
And there's numerous examples of that. So when you go into a mix of people, you don't know who has what.
Mm-hmm.
And unconsciously, people spread stuff without knowing that's what they're doing.
Right.
My difficulty with this is we are not one people.
Okay.
And since we're not one people, even in a family, you might recall, I don't know how many people were in your family, but I come from a family of about 8,
Mm-hmm.
6 living, 5 living now. I'm the oldest. there's 20 years difference between myself and my youngest sister.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't raised by my parents.
Okay. So you all are
You
different.
understand why?
Yeah.
Because they were 20 years older.
Right.
They were 20 years older.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to have a key to the house. They got keys when they were kids. I mean, there's a lot of difference in that. So even if you have, you remember in school when you whispered something in somebody's ear and they whispered in another person's ear, by the time
Yeah.
they got back, it was totally different.
What's the name of that game? Like telephone. Yeah.
Yeah, what it is. And the thing of it is that that's part of the difficulty, because we all have our own ideas. So even within the same family, there's different ideas.
Right.
So you have now different people trying to say this is what's happening, and it's not a consistent, recognized authority consistently allowed to say this is what we need to do.
Right.
You have different people saying we ought to do this, we ought to do that, and even some doctors saying, well, this doctor has an opinion, I have a doctor's opinion. I have an opinion. So that's one category.
Right.
There's another category of people that's in that same part who, if you go back 500 or 600 or 700 years or 1,000 years, before science, there was the community orientation of each area. And during that period, there became a church orientation within that period.
Yeah.
If you listen to the the audio by Bruce Tipton, he talks about this. So you have that community orientation with their healings and so forth. You have, quote, civilization orientation. There's a difference in that to me. In indigenous community orientation, there is an orientation to me that looks at that we are one with nature. We try to be with nature.
Right.
In civilized community, there's a need to control nature, to be above nature. So that's one section. In that civilized part, you had groups vying for control in that area. And in Europe, at least, the church won out. But then a scientific community began to grow. There was a battle between them. And as a result, over the years, the science community began to get stronger and began to win out.
Right.
That led to what might be called classical theory, classical mechanics, which looked at everything like a machine. There were particles and there were waves.
Right.
And then you got the quantum mechanical view, which happens when I was in graduate school. I began to study that in the early days of that, where we had to derive all that, the mathematics, using the mathematics to derive the model that led to a periodic chart. I tease people and I say to them, when I was in high school and college, I had a periodic chart that was 8 columns wide. Look on the internet and you see a long column.
Yes. Yeah.
I was studying that in graduate school. 6 years later, I was teaching that in freshman chemistry. Just like that.
Wow.
So, but the thing in quantum mechanics that's important is That's not a particle and a wave. It's both.
You got to explain that one, please.
Look on the internet and look up the periodic chart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look up the, I'm sorry, geez. Look up the electromagnetic spectrum.
Okay.
Look up the electromagnetic spectrum. And in the molecular electromagnetic spectrum, you will see a wide range. Now, the light in your room
Mm-hmm.
is not light.
What can I say it is then?
It's visible light.
Gotcha.
Look on the electromagnetic spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and you will see a very narrow band that's visible light.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably 1% around that of the whole spectrum.
Right.
The whole spectrum is light. So when you can say, when God said, let there be light, everything was possible.
Mm-hmm. No, so we're only operating in that 1%. That's
Because that's what humans can see.
right.
That's what humans can see. Okay, but that's not light. That's visible light.
Mm-hmm.
Ultraviolet light, infrared light, you can't see that.
Right.
And guess what? That other 98% or more is in darkness.
That's interesting. Explain that one.
We can't see it.
Okay. All right. I get that.
So to me, darkness and light are two forms of the same thing.
Yes.
But what I'm getting at is light is vibration. And this is the hard part to explain. Okay, I can explain it best by this.
Okay.
Look up hydrogen bonding on the internet. And you see an oxygen molecule, oxygen atom with two hydrogen atoms that forms H2O, a molecule.
Right.
But the hydrogen atoms are not like this or like this. They are like this. So the oxygen here and like this. Notice that's like a V.
Yes.
That forms a positive center, so to speak. On the other end of the oxygen atoms are two pairs of electrons that forms a negative center. So you have two water molecules coming together, and a hydrogen atom of one molecule can electrostatically connect with the negative center of the other molecule of the oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
That's two. Now let that expand. Every hydrogen atom connects with another oxygen atom. So what happens is a cloud is water vapor.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that individual water molecules, H2O, are running around at high speeds. As the temperature drops, as the temperature drops, as the pressure changes, they slow down.
Right.
When they slow down, you have two molecules connecting. So you have 4, you have 8, you have multiples.
Mm-hmm.
So you have individuals, you have groups, and then you have clusters.
Mm-hmm.
When those clusters get large enough, it changes from a gas to a liquid and falls down as rain.
Right.
Now I'm explaining that to show that when these molecules slow down, they combine. Well, that to me is like light. As photons begin to slow down for whatever reasons, they connect with each other.
Right. Okay.
Now, I don't know enough to go beyond that, but if you use that same analogy, you can see that we are vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
So put your hands like this. And just, do you feel something there?
I cannot. Am I focusing too hard? Is that what the problem is?
No. Stop. First of all, stop trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Okay.
Close your eyes and breathe. Do your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Do your hands together. Closer together. And then feel something on your hands. It's like something there.
Okay.
Now let that, play with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's your energy field.
Okay.
That energy field is around you. So, like, that's vibration. You walk into a room and you say, what happened here? Because you feel a difference in the vibration that comes out as emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying that everything in us vibrates.
Yes.
According to Lipton, our bodies is a community of cells.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we have a human being, a family, a community, a city, a state, a nation, that's a community.
Right.
Within the body, there's a community of cells. So you start off with vibrations that leads to atoms, that leads to molecules, that leads to cells, and so on. That leads to organs, that leads to system, and we have a body.
Right.
You can look that up too. So what I'm saying is that's a vibration. Now, the importance of that is as a result, and I'm skipping around here, I'm coming to another point.
Okay.
The pandemic causes stress.
Yes.
Stress, to me, is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Now, go back to your hands. Go back to your hands and feel that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Play with it, but keep it closer and play with it and close your eyes and focus on that energy. And as you focus on that energy, notice as you feel that, it takes you to your heart. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was a calmness that came, and that's what
Yes,
I
very
related
good.
it to.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. It takes you to your heart. So close your eyes. Now let that energy go to your heart. Put your hands down and feel the energy in your heart. Breathing gently and deeply. Breathing gently and deeply, and let it take you to a level of peace. Now, keeping your eyes closed,
Mm-hmm.
put a cloud around you. The cloud represents whatever emotional stuff that you feel right now. Breathing gently and deeply, feel the emotions in that cloud as strongly as you can, such that the more you feel the emotions, the stronger and more powerful you become. And the stronger and more powerful you become, the cloud disappears. And keeping your eyes closed, let me know when the cloud is gone.
It's gone.
Keep your eyes closed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Go to the past 3 months and feel all that emotional stuff that's going around. Put a cloud around you again and feel that emotion as strongly as you can until that cloud disappears. Again, let me know when the cloud is gone.
I'll be honest, my clouds disappear quickly. Stress.
Very good. No,
Yeah.
okay. Don't talk too much.
Okay.
I'll explain why in just a moment. Now, you get drained by people, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely.
So get an image of someone who drains you. Place their image in front of you and feel them draining your energy and notice a difference in the feeling. And as you notice the difference in the feeling, instead of trying to stop it, center yourself in your heart like you did a while ago. Then move the energy out of your heart, out of your body, around and into their body, through their heart and back to you. Let it go through clean and clear. Stabilize. Then notice they can't drain your energy anymore. Is that correct?
Right.
Now open your eyes. What you just experienced, that feeling you got within your heart, was not emotional, was not stress, because in your heart there was no fear, there was no stress. Is that correct?
Right.
In fact, when you actually experienced the stress and the emotions in your heart, it went away. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
When somebody tried to take your energy and you connected with them, they couldn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That connection with yourself and with other people is my definition of love.
That makes
And
sense.
it's giving and receiving as opposed to giving.
Right.
Now I'm come to a central point that I really want to deal with. All the other stuff I've taught, I need to spend more time on individually to give better explanations. But I was just trying to give a general view.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm showing here is that I just got you out of your head. Your head contains the program self that I mentioned earlier that was programmed by your parents, the school, the church, and most of these things. And what you have to understand is most of that stuff is not true.
Right.
Columbus did not discover America. He didn't even go to the continent. He got to the islands. Jesus is not a white European.
Right.
I mean, that should be obvious, but it's not a white European.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go on and on about stuff. Suppose a Native American wrote a history of the United States. It'd be totally different. So I'm saying that history was written by the victors.
Right.
So when we come here, when I talked earlier about that, and we get programmed, that program runs independent of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So in that program self, you have to go outside of yourself to validate who you are. And as long as you have to go outside of yourself to validate who you are, how can you accept yourself?
Right.
And notice what happens when you went to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the difference?
Between
What's the difference when you went to
stepping
your heart?
outside? Mm-hmm.
Say it again.
Between stepping outside of yourself and going within your heart, what's the difference between
Yes.
those two?
Yes.
If stepping inside of myself gives me, to my opinion, it would give me I'm more in tune with what I am more than stepping outside of myself. I lose that connection, if you will, if I was to comparing
No,
those
not
two.
connection. No, not connection. You establish a connection. You see, most people are not in love. They're in love. They are attached. And that's why they have drama. They can't get energy from themselves, so they get it from each other.
Right.
But when you go to your heart, you don't need it. Now, I'll prove that later if we have time. But for right now, in your heart is what I call your true self.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed? Tell me your first name again.
Nick.
I may ask that several times. Nick has been around all your life. And Nick hadn't changed.
No.
So Nick doesn't die.
No.
That's true self. That's connected with source.
Mm-hmm.
Since that's connected with source, it doesn't need outside validation.
Correct.
So the problem is people say we're connected. We're not connected. We're attached.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you connect with somebody, so close your eyes both. Get an image of her, and we will get an image of him. Feel the love you have for each other, and you have for each other. For yourself, and you have for each other. Now notice that heart feeling. That's a connection. That's different. That's like those two water molecules connecting with each other. I want to deal with that later.
Mm-hmm.
That's like those two water molecules connect with each other. So I put on Facebook a couple of weeks ago an idea about connecting and building clusters. I'm not used to Facebook. I mean, geez, stuff has changed. And it's like, I see how much I don't know, even with this. I got so frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that when I get frustrated and give up, the answer comes. That's interesting.
Ain't that something?
Every time, and I got some help twice, and then I found out what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody walked me through, and I found out what to do. But I wanted to put out something that showed about connecting with self, connecting with family, connecting with community, connecting with others to form clusters.
Right.
Now, another idea of the water molecule slowing down to form clusters that change states
Mm-hmm.
from a gas to a liquid. Now, think about clusters growing with people who connect with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what that can change is human states of consciousness.
Absolutely.
And that's a whole nother thing. But I want to deal with this right now. So it's that every night, and at least at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I try to do every day in the afternoon around 6:30, but I know every night for the last 30 years, I've been meditating.
Mm-hmm.
For the last couple of years, I've been meditating, connecting with my inner self and higher self.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 2 to 3 months, I've been connecting with my students and friends. And then asking people to connect with themselves and each other to form clusters.
Yes.
When you form clusters, your body is able to function better. So if I go back to stress,
Mm-hmm.
when I was teaching stress management, years ago, I would tell a story that one day I was driving from Norman to Lawton on the Lawton Turnpike. And sometimes when I get bored, I'd start singing. I'm a baritone who wanted to be a tenor, and I would sing my repertoire of In a Small Hotel by Wishing Well, I Think of You, and all the old standards.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like when you're in the shower or in the room, you have that echo, and in the car, you have that, I was sounding good.
Yeah, yeah.
I would have won awards and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was going so much, I forgot. And I looked to my rearview mirror, and there was some red lights going by me.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Now, when I saw those red lights, I went,
Mm-hmm.
fight or flight syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And my body prepared itself, which means I used up nutrients
Right.
to supply my body with that ability to do what it needed to do.
Yes.
I won't tell you what size ticket I got. It wasn't like it would be now, but it was a lot then. Okay, so anyway, as I drove away, 15 minutes later,
Mm-hmm.
I revisited that scene. And I felt that emotion again.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck were you doing? Big ticket. Several times a day. I experienced that. Which means I was using up nutrients.
Yes.
And where did those nutrients come from? My body.
Yeah, I was about to say they came from you.
Yeah, they came from my body. It means my body, though every time I did that, my body is not able to withstand whatever. Most of the diseases and stuff that's in you, around you, is already in you.
Mm.
And your body is able to withstand all that. It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
But every time you lower those nutrients, your body is not able to fight as well.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting where I'm coming from now?
Absolutely.
So stress management is a way of understanding that when you can release the stress, your body can go back to its normal way of dealing with things, which is much better than under stress.
Right. Absolutely.
So with a couple of weeks ago, I decided to watch other news. And I got so upset. I don't want to use the words I want to use,
Right.
that I made myself almost sick.
Mm-hmm.
And 12 days later, I went into meditation and I cleared it as much as I could.
Good.
It took about 3 days to really clear.
Wow.
So what I look at is, so close your eyes again.
Mm-hmm.
Think about somebody you know you trust. Get an image of them and feel the energy in your heart and your gut, and which is strongest, your heart or your gut.
I feel it's my heart.
Nick, where's the strongest, your heart or your gut?
It's in my heart.
Yes. Now, think about somebody you know you don't trust, that you really don't trust. And where's the feeling, in your heart or your gut? So where is it?
Yeah, I guess that's where the nausea comes from.
Yeah, that's your gut.
It's in your gut.
So here's what I learned 30 years ago. When I got a feeling in my heart, I don't care how bad things are, I know I'm okay.
Right.
When I got a feeling in my gut, I don't care how good things are, I know something's wrong. And the stronger the feeling, I better stop right then and find out what it is.
Right. All right.
So in meditation, when I get that gut feeling like those times,
Mm-hmm.
I go through something similar to what I just showed you, and I clear it.
Mm-hmm.
When I clear it, I know my body is able to withstand most things.
Right.
I haven't gone out very much, but when I do go out, I clear it.
Good.
And I come back. So I'm saying that with the stuff that's happening, everybody, it's up to here.
Yeah.
So I use an analogy of the emotional stuff. It's like a stream crossing a stream of water. When the bed is dry, you can cross it no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it's muddy, your feet get wet. As the water goes faster and go down, is around your ankles, even around your knees, if you fall down, you just get wet.
Mm-hmm.
When the water is around your waist, you can be swept downstream and kill yourself. When the water is up to here, you're immobilized.
Yes.
We up to here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I put that out on Facebook as a way of helping people to understand that when they understand their emotions and clear it, that's a way they can clear themselves. But when you also connect with other people, you form a group of clearing.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
And the larger that group, do you understand what can happen here?
Yes.
The easier will be to withstand most things.
Mm-hmm.
The healthier people are, which means their own health system operates better.
Mm-hmm.
But the fear is around, and it's like, and I'm just walking when I first started going out after in the last 3 weeks when they first started the social distances,
Right.
and this guy in Sprouts was standing right next to me, and I'm saying 6 feet, and he looked at me like I was crazy. So I'm not allowing that to happen anymore. Anyway, I just put it that way. I'm not allowing that to happen.
I got you. I'm with you.
So what I'm saying is, but that's stress too.
Mm-hmm.
Just the idea of doing that causes stress. So I have to clear myself.
Right.
So it's an ongoing process. When I watch the news and I go on, it's like, I understand why certain people have certain views. Because depending on the news you watch, you're going to have a certain view of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And again, I'm not looking at things as right or wrong, good or bad, but what's the result of it?
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, my take on this is we each need to understand ways of clearing ourselves, whatever it is, whether it's prayer, uh, um, however you get there,
Mm-hmm.
however you can get to your heart. Anytime you're trying to figure out what's going on, anytime you're upset or something, you're in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one more thing about your head. Your head cannot understand anything. Do you understand why?
Now explain it for us.
In mathematics, on base 10, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
That's logical. People say they're using logic, but they're starting from an irrational basis. They're not using logic from the foundation. They're maybe using logic in their discussion, but they start from an irrational basis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so what I'm saying is that I don't try to change people because I don't want people messing with me.
Right on.
So one of my mantra is to observe, allow, let go.
Mm-hmm.
And another one is from Eckhart Tolle, and it goes something like this. If you had their pain, their past, their level of consciousness, you would act and do the same things they're doing.
Absolutely.
I don't have that pain. I don't have that consciousness. I don't have that history.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So the head tries to understand when it can only do one thing at a time. So close your eyes again. Think of 5 separate things. Now focus on number one. And know when you focus on number one, you can't focus on number two.
Correct.
On number three, you can't focus on number five.
Mhm.
Now, go back to that energy with your hands. No, go back to the love you have for each other. That seems better.
Okay.
Go back to the love you have for each other. That takes you to your heart. Breathing gently and deeply, spread the energy throughout your body from your head to your feet, out to your fingertips, 1 foot in all directions, all around your body, and let it take you to a deep level of peace. Bring it back to your heart. Expand the feeling 3 feet in all directions, all around your body. Fill the space with your energy and anchor yourself to the space. Now, notice you can deal with all 5 of the things at the same time now. Am I making sense now? Open your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So your head can only do one thing. Your heart can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say, I got to sleep on it, when you say, when you let it go, then your heart takes over. It can come up with the answer.
Nice.
So I choose to use this on purpose.
Good. Good. I would
Sometimes
like
I forget.
to-
Sometimes I forget.
Yeah.
Because I try to figure it out, and the moment I give up, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough for right now. That's
So,
but wait a minute. I started first talking about a lot of different things.
Mm.
At some point in time, we might deal with separate parts of those. But I did that to create a big picture.
mhm.
And I know some people may disagree with me. I don't care. But let's create a big picture. I come to the point of the water molecule and the clusters. So I want to help build clusters.
Right.
Okay. And there's another reason for building clusters, and that's in terms of going to the next level of consciousness for the human race. That's another story altogether. But for right now, the more clusters we can have of people who are connected, and you don't have to be in the same room. That's a good part about it.
Right.
So when you connect with all of them, 1 + 1 is not 2, it's 10, 100, a million, a billion.
Mm-hmm.
So multiply that times a billion times a billion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So is it
So-
safe to say that as we're clustering, as we're moving our vibrations to connect with others, is it safe to say that we're going to connect to like energies and not connect to something that's going to pull us
Okay.
down?
Back again. Remember when we did the drainage, when somebody was draining you?
Right.
You connected with them, and what happened?
They stopped draining.
Okay,
Does that answer your question?
okay.
So when
So
you
it doesn't
connect,
matter.
it doesn't matter. It's love.
Mm-hmm.
To say God is love or whatever you put that means God is connected. You cannot be without God. I don't care what you call it.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be without the Creator. If we say the Creator made everything, by definition, there's no way you can be with us. So nobody needs saving.
Right.
That's another story too. So, but I'm saying when you connect, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. No,
Little kids connect and learn languages very quickly
they do.
because they haven't got programmed out of it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And they play and they have fun. They have little squabbles.
From here and there, yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems like this is the best time to form a cluster because of our slowing down. Like we've been forced to slow down in the sense of we can't go outside and move the same way anymore. Like all the way to mental distractions aren't there anymore. So it would seem like this is the perfect time to cluster because of the slowing down and the coming together that can be built.
It is when people are ready to cluster.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty is Okay. There's one more thing to discuss.
Okay.
Think of concentric circles, 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
7. Level 1 is like a spinning top that spins real slowly. You go around level 1, you learn your lessons, and you go around level 2.
Mm-hmm.
Same lessons on a higher level. Level 3, same lesson on a higher level.
Mhm.
And you say, I've already done this, but not on that level. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's a doozy.
Right.
People at level 1 and level 2, where I consider most people, where most people are, they're programmed without knowing that they're programmed. Everybody's programmed.
Mm-hmm.
We can say that everybody's enslaved, just degrees of it. They don't realize it.
Right.
So just the ball of chain is longer and not visible.
Yeah.
So at level 1, it's like a spinning top that spins real slowly. If you hit it, it falls over. So
Mhm.
people at level 1 think they're lost. They're not lost, but they believe they're lost because it's hard to see.
Right.
Level 2, the top spins faster. Now if you hit it, it bounces around, but it keeps on spinning.
Mhm.
So people at level 2 fall down to get up, they fall down to get up. It takes those energy to get up, they fall back down again. Level 3, to me, is the first level of stability. When the top spins so fast, now it's stable. And you say, life, shoot your best shot because I can deal with this.
Right.
Level 4 is where the top spins so fast it disappears, which means like you all, you can go to higher levels. You know what I'm talking about there, okay? Now, Einstein said that no problem can be resolved on the level it's created.
Correct.
Now, you ever hear of flat world or Flatland from see What the Bleep movie?
No.
You can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Flat world or Flatland is a 2-dimensional world. Flat.
Mhm.
And so from 3 dimensions, you can see down into it and see there are people who are polygon figures, whether that might be a triangle, a square, or whatever,
Mhm.
circle. And they're going around their houses and going to work and all these things like they normally do. And there's a priest in flat world that says there's no such thing as 3 dimensions.
Mhm.
And anybody who believes there's 3 dimensions, they'll put you in the crazy house or whatever. One day, a young girl who's a circle hears a voice. And I guess she's ready because the voice, make a long story short, takes her out of 2 dimensions, this circle, into 3 dimensions.
Mhm.
And in 3 dimensions, what does a circle become?
Sphere.
A sphere, a ball.
Mhm.
Now she can see down and call to her parents and people like that, but they can't hear her.
Mhm.
Now she sees the wonders of 3 dimensions. And there's a 3-dimensional priest that says there's no such thing as 4 dimensions.
Mhm.
Now, they put her back down into the flat world. There's no way she can explain her experiences.
Right. Yeah.
There's no way she can explain her experiences.
Mhm.
Okay. Furthermore, when you're in flat world, you can't see the problems of flat world. So that's my key. That's my example here.
Mhm.
You have to go to the next level above to see the problems down there. So
Mhm.
people at level 1 and level 2, they're stuck. They're not stuck forever. And I cannot get them unstuck. And it's said, if you try to raise people's consciousness, it lowers yours instead of raising. As much as you raise them, it lowers yours, which means you had to go through that crap again to get back to where you were.
Yes.
But
Yes.
since nobody needs saving, they will get out, as far as I'm concerned, whether it takes 1 lifetime or multiple lifetimes. It doesn't make any difference.
Mhm.
And plus, I don't know what their lessons are.
Mhm.
So if I mess with them, I mess us both up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So observe, allow, let go. I let them be. So I don't do things unless I'm asked.
Mhm. That's the best. I feel it keeps you safe. Keeps everyone
So
safe. Yeah.
in doing so, then, the whole point then is people who are stuck at this level cannot see above that level.
Right.
But once you're above that level, you can see down and say, wow, that's what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't explain it to them.
Mm-hmm.
You better explain it to yourself.
Yeah.
So the whole point is that that's nothing you have to do.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that one. I really do understand.
So, yes. So when you're at peace yourself, as you spread the clusters, and I'll end it with this. You heard of the 100th monkey
Yes.
concept? I've been teaching this for years, and I'm still waiting for the 100th monkey to show up.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get to a point where we have so many clusters forming that when that 100th monkey cluster comes over, we all transform.